Welcome, I'm Nid, a karma guide, and I support people through the integration of changes in their lives. Sometimes events happen in our lives or we even choose them, but we struggle a little bit with getting beyond the mental side of it. How can we bring it into our body and actually really live it and express who it is that we are here to be, energetic beings of love and light. In this video, we are going to be exploring how we can use moves to shift ourselves from that kind of low, meh, don't want to do anything, depressed energy state into a feeling of a bit more freshness, like when a little seed is sprouting up into the light or the water sprinkles down over you. And even if you're not in a really low state, what is it that we want to start to do to just give ourselves a little bit of a zing and feel and connect to more beauty in life? So the first move is really a strange move for some, and it is toe separating. Because our feet are all to do with our groundedness and connection to life. So we're going to be working with the foot. You need to take your socks off so that you are going to be able to take your fingers and place them in between each toe, like this. Now, you don't have to be sat in this position. Any way in which you can grab hold of your foot is going to work. This just works for me right now as a setup. And you want to get your fingers as much as you can through your toes. Absolutely fine, just wherever you're at. And we are going to just begin with a little wiggle of the fingers between those toes, just moving around, feeling the sensitivity between these toes and what it is. And it may feel a little uncomfortable, and that's okay. There's often tight spots in our feet. We don't give them a lot of care for the amount they move us about every day. So we're just going to twizzle a little bit, and then you're going to start to bend and flex those toes forwards and back. And really try and make sure that you're keeping those fingers moving between each toe. You then, having done a bit of a warm up, we might do some little circles if you can, just starting to get a little bit more circular movement through the toes. They don't technically move in a circle, but it's how you're going to create space. If your hand moves in a circle, it will wiggle your toes a bit bigger. And then we're going to come into the foot itself. So keep your fingers here, and you're just going to start to flex and point the foot. And you can use the palm of your hand into the center of your foot to create pressure as you kind of slightly pull on the toes and then push. And we're doing this to try and start to create a little bit more connection into points at the base, at the ball of the foot and the toes. Really moving it forwards and back. And then we're going to go side to side. So in eversion and inversion, or pronation and supination, depending on your school of biomechanics. And then we're going to go into some circles. Again, you can keep that nice firm pressure with your hand, reversing those circles the other way. And if you're someone like me who didn't like my feet for a very long time and so never wanted to touch them, and this was very challenging when I first began having to spend this much time touching my feet, it's helpful if you can just spend time doing this. It's a very grounding thing. Doing something with your hands is very grounding. Doing something with your feet is very grounding. So by doing this, we're creating a deeply grounding movement pattern between the hands and the feet. When we feel low, it's because we're normally stuck in our mind and we're not really being in the body. Okay. Come back to center, slowly release those fingers out from those toes. Shake out your hand, flick off all that energy. And then you may want to put both feet down on the floor and feel the difference between your 2 feet. Now, obviously we need to do the other side. So we're gonna come over, fingers in between each toe. You're like, I thought we were gonna do freshness. What's this toe business? Why are we sitting here playing with our toes? Well, because your feet are what you stand on the earth. They're how you receive energy from the earth. So we're giving ourselves this wiggle to begin with, just shaking out everything, creating a bit of space. If you're choosing to do this kind of figure four, then you're getting a bonus hip stretch too. Which is always good for lifting our mood, opening up the hips. And then we will begin to kind of forward and back flex a little bit with those toes. And you might notice one foot feels quite different from the other. And then we'll come into our little circles. In reflexology, the toes are storage of emotion. So how your toes feel can give you an idea of how much you're keeping some emotions, maybe a little bit under lid, how there might be something there to tend to. It's always interesting just to see what's feeling in there. Pop the palm into the top of the foot and we'll begin doing the pointing and the flexing at the ankle joint. And then we go into the pronation and supination of the foot and ankle. And you might notice the actual top of your foot moves independently of having to move the whole of the foot, right? And this is part of that design of the foot to be really mobile and versatile rather than in shoes. Our feet are designed to walk over unstable surfaces, uneven surfaces, and a large part of kind of foot issues is that they're not really getting used enough. So this is a beautiful way to get to really move all the parts of your foot so that they stay healthy. And we're going to our circles. So really important for good foot, leg, hip health, knee health is to take care of our feet. And then we'll go the other way. We will release our toes, shake off the fingers, and let the foot land, just noticing now how those 2 feet are feeling. Next for freshness, we are going to be working with a sensation of moving the hands over the body for a beautiful celebration of your body. So you can have your legs whatever distance is comfortable to stand on, and let those lovely feet you've just worked through really relax and feel the ground beneath you. You can have the knees soft and let yourself just let the shoulders drop. Head is over the shoulders. We are just going to begin to take a nice inhale up and let the arms cross the body like you're going to give yourself a big hug. When you get to the chest, you're going to wrap around the body and over the belly. And let the hands come over the hips and down over the back of the hips, down the back of the legs. Let the hands rest on the feet for a moment. You can bend your knees as much as you need to let the hands rest down. And then we're going to draw the hands up the front of the body. Up across the belly, up across the chest. And then we bring it under the armpits before we go, yes. And open the arms out wide. So here we go again. We take an inhale up and over. Cross the arms over the body, letting them connect over the chest and come crossing at the front of the abdomen. Let them come around the hips and down the back of the legs. And then allow them to land onto the feet, pressing into the ground. We then draw it up the front of the body, inside of the thighs, belly, and the center of the chest. We go over the top, under the armpits before we, yes, the arms away. The next move for connecting to that freshness and beauty is from Qigong. So we're going to step our legs out a little bit wider than the shoulders and soften the knees. Have your toes pointing forwards. This is what we call a horse stance. If I do it from the side, my back is still upright. I'm not tilting forward. So I want my shoulders still to be over my hips. My knees are forward. My weight is back in my heels. I'm going to come down to this place. It's a bit of work on those legs, which is good because it's going to keep this groundedness that we're looking for, and that's going to help lift out with strength. You're then going to take your hands and make the little L shape that we do sometimes when we're kids learning, which is our left hand. So the thumb and the index finger at 90 degrees and the other 3 fingers are wrapped around. Bring your hands to the center of your chest. And then you're going to reach your right arm out at shoulder height to the right side, flex the wrist and look towards the top of that index finger. You'll probably feel a strong stretch up through the underneath arm and into the chest. And then we bring the hand back to center. We then take the left arm out to the side, shoulder height, flex at the wrist, looking at that index finger. So the head is turned, the torso is still all nice and stable in that starting position. And then coming back to center. We'll do one more to each side. Right arm reaches out, flexing in the wrist, trying to get that index finger pointing to the sky. Thumb is pointing towards the starting wall. And then coming back. And then left arm comes out. And one thing I always say to my clients is that when we're in something that has a strong sensation, see if you can soften and find a gentle smile. That's another beautiful way in which we can tell the body that it's okay, that we're enjoying ourselves and that we are safe and having fun. And bring the hand back, straighten those legs and just shake out the legs. A key part of finding an openness and more beauty through our eyes is opening through the heart. Now, heart opening often is seen as being chest expansion, back bending, but a lot of the time we're doing back bends, we're doing it with all kinds of weird things going on with the low core, and actually it's not really the heart that is doing the opening. So what I see as being the most effective thing for my clients is that we do it through a side bend to open the sides of the heart. And this also brings us into greater presence as an energy. So the next one you can do seated or you can do it standing up. We are going to be taking the hands and crossing them over to try and catch the opposite elbow. You want to see if you can let the arms rest above the head, but don't worry if your shoulder flexibility has them in front of your chest, but ultimately we're going to try and get them above the head. Now, if for that one it's too painful getting those hands up over the head, you can put your hands to your shoulders, and really the goal here is this trying to lift the elbows up so we can get this stretch through the sides of the armpit. And then from here, you're going to lift one elbow up towards the sky and start to find yourself in this side bend. Really try and feel that each rib is separating and opening up. And breathe into the upper side rib cage. If you feel inclined, you can add in a rotation down and then a rotation up. This is more complex, but it will open into more fascia in the body. And we can even add it in with a kind of rock rhythm. And then we come back to center, I'm going to suggest try and change the elbow grab if you can, and then we lift the other elbow up towards the sky, finding that opening through those side ribs, and maybe taking at least a few rounds of breath before you move anywhere. Just we open up, and you really want to feel that it's this area underneath the bottom of the armpit that's opening. This is what we want to access to really get into that heart space, to start to connect to greater beauty. And then we'll add in those rotations. And if you want, you can add it to a rhythmic rotation. And let the arms come down. Our final movement is one that requires connection to flow and buoyancy in the fascia. So often when we've lost that connection to freshness and beauty, we've lost a buoyancy in our fascial body. And so the system that connects all of the tissues in the body is telling you that it's stuck, that it's heavy, that there isn't this like new energy and fluidity and hydration. So we're going to take our legs out wide, and this time we're going to turn our toes slightly out just to give us a bit of stability. There is a lot of freedom in how you would like to express this move. We're going to take our arms out to the side. What we're going to start to do is just find that pull of side to side with the arms. And you might find that there's this natural desire to let the arms move you a little bit. So we let this connection happen between the arms. Now, you don't actually have to do this shape. If you are feeling like you would rather do something that's got a twist, you could do a twist. We get this nice buoyant feeling. The key is that if you're feeling heavy, sometimes this fluidity is easier for you to start to get that sense of bounce, this principle of hydration and buoyancy that starts to create a movement. And you might find that then it can start to move into a bit more of a bounce. And if we get into that bounce, we might let that bounce start to spread through. Just letting yourself see what feels natural. So you're allowing this freedom with a bounce exploration. And if for you this bounce isn't there today, then you might be staying more with the sway. And if as you start to bounce, you're like, oh, there's a little lift of the heels. That's okay. We just want to create this little lightness. Be playful, lose your balance, and find your rhythm. Key to finding a sense of freshness, a sense of delight, is your actual natural internal rhythm. The final movement again is a Qigong movement, which is the 7 heel shake, and this is connected to that sense of buoyancy, connecting us to just energizing the entire of our system whilst staying grounded. I'm going to take the camera away from my feet so that you can actually see what I'm doing. It's very, very simple. We're going to be looking to do a little heel raise, and then we have a little kind of bounce down, and it creates a reverberation through the body. So it's only small, and then we come down. So feet are just in parallel. We just lift up onto the ball of the foot, try and keep the weight even between big toe to pinky toe. Have a little balance. Keep the knees soft. And then let the heels just jud down. There's a slight judder. We're doing it 7 times. okay to be a little bit of an elephant in the room. These are some of the most fun and uplifting ways in which we can start to shift our energy from that low stodginess into a more vibrant way of feeling fresh, seeing the world through eyes of love and beauty. Let me know which one you enjoyed the most below, and I'd love your feedback on what variations you've come up with to find your bounce.